Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte says his country is in a strong position to handle the economic downturn caused by the pandemic. During his annual State of the Nation address, he conceded that while lockdown measures may have hurt the economy, they kept numbers in check. The president is under mounting pressure over his handling of the coronavirus outbreak. After easing restrictions at the start of June, the number of infections have more than quadrupled to 82,000. Critics say not enough tests are being conducted.
Buena Bernal is in Manila for us tonight. Good evening, Buena. President Duterte has been criticized for his handling of the country's coronavirus outbreak, but he says his government's actions have saved lives.
Well, lockdown measures, including suspending classes and banning mass gatherings, are non-pharmaceutical interventions, and there's a degree of scientific consensus there that they contain the spread of infectious diseases and therefore save lives. But you have to contextualize it, because the comparison being made when you quantify the number of lives saved due to the lockdown measures is between having a lockdown and not having done anything at all. And that's not exactly the criticism that we're hearing on the ground. It's more sophisticated than that. Analysts, activists, and even the protesters who were here the morning before the State of the Nation address are criticizing how the interventions are operationalized, how the lockdown was implemented, and they're saying that it's heavily militarized. They're saying that law enforcers are sometimes going overboard, citing the case, for example, of an army veteran who turned out to be mentally ill and was shot dead by a cop near a police checkpoint. Or Philippines President Rodrigo Duterte previously saying in a speech that policemen should shoot dead troublemakers. This was after a group of underprivileged basically defied the stay-home rule and demanded aid because they were going hungry. 5.2 million Filipino families have experienced hunger due to lack of food between April to June this year, and that's the highest in 5 years. So the discussion here is not merely between the presence of interventions and the lack of them, but how they are implemented. But really the promise from the presidential palace in terms of the State of the Nation address is for Mr. Duterte to lay out the country's economic recovery plan after the pandemic. And basically we've heard that plan and some directives from the president from his speech. He urged Congress to pass a legislation that would cut corporate income tax by from 30% to 25%, and to allow government flexibility to grant fiscal and non-fiscal incentives. He urged lessors, and also he urged commercial establishments, I should say, to give leeway to micro, small, medium enterprises who are renting, and also intensify efforts to protect MSMEs, basically by giving them capitalization and business operation support. We also heard from him that the country plans to conduct 1.4 million tests by the end of July, but you also have to understand that the Philippines has failed to meet its testing targets in the past.
When the pandemic struck, I decided to prioritize life over other considerations according to experts. The intervention that the government had put in place prevented as much as 1.3 to 3.5 million infections. To me, even if the numbers were much lower, it would still be and would have been worth the sacrifice we made.